Both sides. Woo! How about that one?
That's our new leaders right there.
Big Stewie!
University of Montevallo, 24-96. National champions, Wallace State, Briar and Clinton. What's up, everybody? Welcome in here for another episode of the Rapala Collegiate Bass Podcast. Today, we're going to be joined by Masen Wade, president of the University of Arkansas Bass Fishing Club. We're getting ready to head up that direction towards Lake Dardanelle in Russellville, Arkansas. We'll hit the road Thursday. Tournament competition is going to be Saturday and Sunday for the AFTCO Collegiate Bass Open, paying over $20,000 in prizes and contingencies, as well as double points to count towards the Bass Pro Shop School of the Year presented by Abu Garcia. The AFTCO Open set to be the second event of the year for the Association of Collegiate Anglers on the Bass Pro Shop's Collegiate Bass Fishing Series. Masen, let's get the pulse here real quick for you guys. Just getting your tournament season started, a new school year. We're about a month and a half in thus far. Being able to get out on the trail, don't have to travel too far from home to start the season for y'all. Talk about the excitement for the club to be able to send the teams that you are to Lake Dardanelle and Russellville, Arkansas, close to home.
Oh, yeah, no, we're real excited. This is definitely one of our favorite events to go to throughout the year. It's really good for us. We're sending probably one of the most amounts of boats we've sent to this event in a long time. So it's just, we're all really excited about it. A lot of new guys, a lot of guys who've done this before. It's going to be a stingy lake like it usually is. And it just seems like this year's going to be a little bit tougher. But other than that, I mean, we're real excited to get going. I mean, we're about to head on down in 2 days and go get some practice started.
Official practice starting on Thursday. We'll talk about the growth of the club you were referring to there in your answer. Let's talk about the lake here for a minute yourself. You've got experience at that body of water in this particular event as well. I believe 2 years ago after day one, you and your partner at that time were in the top three, I believe, because we had a camera boat with you to start the day. Had a good finish there 2 years ago. Talk a little bit about what you know about the lake, maybe just kind of a generic how it sets up, man. It's the Arkansas River there at Lake Dardanelle. I remember I had some buddies in college, they called it the Dirty Dardanelle. It was always a little muddy. It kind of depended, especially in the springtime. It may be a little more settled right now, but, man, it's just a shallow fishery, river fishery. Got a lot of different stuff to choose from. Give us kind of your perspective on what you view Lake Dardanelle as a fishery and all.
So yeah, I've fished this lake my entire life. It's probably the clearest I've ever seen it. It's going to be completely different than we've ever fished it. There's been no rain in a couple weeks. There's no flow. There's nothing. It's like a green pond right now. So it's definitely gonna be different for a lot of people from how they've seen it before. But it's still gonna require some weight to win. One team's gonna find them. So it's definitely going to be different. It's different for me. I don't think I've ever fished it like this before. So it's a learning experience for everyone this week.
That happens sometimes at fisheries. We see that a lot. There's lakes down here in Texas where maybe one thing or another happens, some grass dies off, and the fish just kind of relocate, and it takes a whole new cycle to be able to figure out, man, they're not gone. They're still there. Where are they now, and why are they doing what they're doing, and how can you go about catching them? That's going to be the game plan for everybody coming into town. Takes me to my next question. For these anglers that are coming from a lot of different places, Lake Dardanelle is a really interesting body of water, especially in the fall, because a lot of different stuff's in play. If you like to fish rock, it's out there. It's in the form of big chunk rock, bluff banks, riprap along a bunch of the different bridges and things like that. If you like to fish grasses, shallow vegetation, there's plenty of that, lily pads thrown in, as well as hardcover in the form of flooded trees and stuff. You can fish your strengths is what I'm getting at. Talk a little bit about the diversity of that cover and what that means for these guys. You know, it kind of makes Dardanelle an even playing field across the board, because if you like to do something, and for that day that you're out there on that body of water, if the fish are there, you're going to catch them.
Yeah, I mean, this place is a river lake in just every textbook possible. I mean, except for the fact there's no flow this week. So it's definitely going to change some stuff up. It's not going to position them like a normal river would. It's going to turn more into a lake with a lot more rocks and a lot, obviously, shallow cover, a lot of it. And it's going to be a big key on what they're eating this week, because if you don't find what they're going to eat, because there's going to be millions of bait everywhere, and it's just going to be a tough lake in general, but especially with no flow, the fish aren't going to be positioned how you would want them to be. But with all the cover, it does make it easy to target them in the fall when it comes to finding what cover they're around, because once you do that, it makes it a lot easier.
let's talk about particular baits. Every year it kind of varies. I believe that one year there was a 19-pound bag caught on day one. I'm pretty sure they were flipping, throwing a different variety of soft plastics and jigs into heavy cover. We've had guys freewheeling top waters out across open water and catching fish doing that when we've had the event a little later in October in years past. Soft plastics are always a key. I saw some frogs being thrown last year on day one. That bite kind of went away for some of those anglers on day two, and they fell down the leaderboard. Talk a little bit about baits that you think are going to be key as it pertains to, as you mentioned there, also probably imitating shad.
Yeah, so a lot of shad imitation this week, and just anything you would want to throw at the same time. I mean, if you're not on the shad, then you catch them on a myriad. I think it could be a jig, it could be a Senko, it could be anything. Like, it's this time of year on Dardanelle, there is no such thing as a pattern once it hits a certain point. it's the Arkansas River, and I don't think there's many days that you can go out and do the same thing twice. So it's going to be on the fly. A lot of what do you feel is going to be right. So it's not the easiest thing to go and conquer. So
that part of your answer there takes me to the next question as we kind of build along here, talking about the upcoming AFTCO Collegiate Bass Open there at Lake Dardanelle. Let's talk about the here one day, gone the next, and what that does to your mentality as you attack fishing. I was following some stuff recently this week, and it's interesting to hear people talk about, in the fall, a lot of tournaments, you're kind of milking your fish, right? You know that you've got a school. You don't want to burn them up. You want them there for the next day so you can build upon a multi-day tournament and do well for the length of that event. In this case, you might say, to heck with it. I know I'm going to get bit here on day one. Stuff changes so much. Even if I burn them all up, I might catch all my fish on day one. I'll go find them again on day two. Talk about that mentality of, stuff changes. How do you go about catching them on one day and then relocating and finding them on the second day to put together 2 solid days at this event?
Yeah, that's always the question when you come here, is how are you supposed to do this, because sometimes it just doesn't work out. There's so much cover on this lake that it gets a little overwhelming if you don't know what you're looking at. But going into the first day, we usually have a pretty good plan. I know, obviously, when you have history on this lake, it helps, but at the same time, it can hurt you, because it's hurt me before on this lake. And you really got to focus on keeping your head in the game, because when you're going through and you're looking at all this cover and you are like, why am I not getting bit here? That's just Dardanelle. That's the best way you can describe it, because sometimes this lake just doesn't fire like you expect it to, and it takes really oddball ways to catch fish here, and it can be a very place, and going through and trying to figure out 2 days on a very weird place that is going to change every single day, and I can guarantee you it's going to change every single day, because that's just how this place is. It really just goes about what your willpower is to do what you know is going to work in the fall.
We're looking forward to getting it started up this weekend for sure. Always a fun event. Seeing these anglers come across Lake Dardanelle State Park and weigh in over both days of tournament competition. You'll be able to stream live weigh-in both days on the Outdoor Action TV app. Be sure to check that out on your favorite devices, smartphone, television, you name it. Get it downloaded. Watch those weigh-ins. We'll continue our conversation here with Masen Wade, club president at the University of Arkansas. University of Arkansas, also my alma mater. If you've listened to this podcast for any amount of time, I mention it about every other episode. My time spent in school there and getting to fish for the team and all that good stuff that came with it. Masen, let's talk about the growth of the club. You alluded to it in the answer to your first question earlier. I know that for myself, when I went to school, I was in school from 2009 to 2013. Man, it was really cooking. The club had just came off of winning the ACA National Championship, had a good group of veteran guys, and then some incoming younger anglers, and we were able to sustain that and build it. But that kind of died off around 2015, 2016, and for 2 or 3 years leading up to COVID, there was kind of a lull, and you guys started to build it back up, and we've seen y'all's team numbers and registration numbers increase at the AFTCO Open each of the last 3 years now. Talk about that growth, what y'all been doing, how you've grown it, and just a little insight into the club in general for somebody that's listening and might not know about the University of Arkansas Bass Fishing Club.
Yeah, I mean, you said it yourself. We've been growing like crazy. Ever since COVID, I got here, and we have just been focusing on getting guys out and making sure that we're fishing. Like, it's besides having people coming up with boats, which helps out a lot. I mean, we doubled in size this year, and it's definitely different because I'm having to deal with a group of guys I've never had to deal with this many people before, and it really looks good. And being able to send this many guys to Dardanelle this week really makes us really excited, especially for the older guys. And we're all just very excited. And looking into like the club, we fish a lot of the major trails and stuff like most people do, and it helps with this event because it lets us get ourselves out with it, showing up and showing out with as many boats as we can, and it looks good. And people see that and they're like, okay, Arkansas does have a team. Because when you look at COVID year when we fished, I think we had 3 boats, and we're looking at putting almost 10 this week. So it's definitely a bigger surprise for us. We did not expect this coming into this year, but with the big group of guys that we got coming in, we're real excited about it.
Talk a little bit about how the team functions there as a club at a state institution like the University of Arkansas. It's a little different than some of these other teams, per se, that are part of an athletic department and some of the higher contenders up in the Bass Pro Shop School of the Year presented by Abu Garcia. You've got teams like Auburn, Murray State function similar, University of Tennessee. There are some bigger schools, state schools, as I'll call them, that have these big clubs, and they run themselves. They manage everything. They help recruit anglers in, get stuff set up around campus for, campus rec type recruitment events. Talk a little bit about the legwork that goes into it. As you are the club president, you're seeing it firsthand. What do y'all do to help get to the point where you're at now, where you've grown this up, you're getting more notoriety and getting some steam behind the team?
Yeah, it really is a lot on the guys that are running this. It's really just us putting in the effort to get us out there. I mean, we go in and we are a straight student-ran club because we aren't a part of the athletic association here. So it is how much effort we're going to put into it. And the guys that have been running this, we've been putting everything we can to getting these guys out. And it's showing. It's showing. Our effort is showing out because we knew going into COVID and like me getting here during all of that, I knew I wasn't going to get to reap too much benefits. I knew that going into this, we were going to put as much effort as we can to make this club grow so that these new guys that are coming in now get to have a really good chance of doing well and having more opportunities to do well. And when you do that, people start seeing your club and saying, hey, those guys are actually putting in effort. They're growing. I wouldn't mind going there. I mean, we do have a pretty cool campus, but we are trying to make ourselves a bit like putting in the effort as us officers are put like a lot of the older guys in the club. So we know this after we leave, we're trying to make sure we get a good impact on these new guys so that they have a really good opportunity to go out and do well.
Yeah, for me to get up there and go to school, it was kind of a perfect storm of University of Arkansas is the only place I applied to. It's the only place I visited. Might have had a couple other ideas to go other places at some point during high school, but this is what I locked in on, and then it's the year that they win the championship. I already knew they had a club, which that didn't hurt my chances of wanting to go to school there. So just having success, you hear it in sports a lot, success breeds success, and you start to build momentum and have good showings, get out there and put your face out. In a couple of years, what y'all are doing now is only going to continue to grow on into the future. Speaking of growth, anyone that's listening, anybody out there that might want to find out more information about the University of Arkansas Bass Fishing Club, how can they do so, get involved, maybe support the team, things like that? How can they get in contact with you guys?
Yeah, big way is our email. I'm on email and Instagram and Facebook. Our email is bassteam@uark.edu. Our Instagram should be Arkansas Fishing on Instagram, and on Facebook it is U of Arkansas Bass Fishing Team Club. Just U of Arkansas Bass Fishing. That is the main ways. If you were to private message us, if you want to find anything else more about the club, or email us, I am on those, and I will respond usually fairly quick. So we're always looking forward to having new guys, high schoolers reaching out and saying, hey, what do you guys do? How do you guys do it and stuff? Because we love answering that because that makes us say, hey, guys are actually interested. So we've been putting a lot of effort in, and it's cool seeing people actually showing interest.
Yeah, for sure. Get on there, find them, message them. That's how I reached out and got this interview scheduled, and he's not lying. I got a response pretty quick the second that I reached out and said I wanted to talk to somebody about the upcoming event. So head over there, check them out. Also, any more information you want to know about this upcoming tournament, the AFTCO Collegiate Bass Open, go over to collegiatebasschampionship.com. Mason, thanks for getting on the phone with us today, man. Good luck during practice in the event. We'll see y'all at the registration meeting this upcoming Friday.
Sweet, of course. Thanks for having me on.
Fishing is all about connecting with nature. Then grabbing nature by the lip and holding it up for a picture.
To fishermen and other liars, the time you spent on the docks, the banks, the boats, the lines you cast, and the hooks you set. These moments you share with the people you love, the fish you never forget, and the tales that get taller with every retelling. Make memories that'll last a lifetime with Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Your adventure starts here.